When the Prophet, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, arrived in Medina, he not only found a home, he found a city teetering on the edge of chaos. Tribes still nursed old rivalries, the hypocrites were plotting silently, and Quraysh, enraged by the Hijrah, were preparing for war. The newborn Muslim community was vulnerable, yet the Prophet, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, guided by Allah, began to fortify Medina through strategic planning, diplomacy, and early patrols. This episode tells the story of the first challenges faced by the Ummah, the threats, the alliances, and the small but decisive actions that shaped the future of Islam. Quraysh viewed the Prophet's migration as a direct threat. They implemented economic warfare, aiming to isolate Muslims. Trade routes were blocked, caravans were threatened, supporters in Makkah were pressured to abandon Islam. Abu Sufyan, Quraysh's chief strategist, warned, "Muhammad is building a base in Yathrib. We must strike before he grows stronger." As reported in Ibn Hisham, this period shows that war begins not always with swords, but with strategy, influence, and control of resources. The Prophet, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, did not rush into confrontation. He prioritized defense and intelligence. Small groups of Muhajirun and Ansar patrolled surrounding areas to protect Muslim trade routes, monitor Quraysh caravans, signal Muslim preparedness. Ibn Sa'd narrates, "The Prophet, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, sent these patrols not for looting, but to demonstrate readiness and protect Medina." This careful strategy prevented early bloodshed while establishing deterrence. Hamzah ibn Abdul Muttalib led a patrol of 30 men to survey the region. They encountered a Quraysh caravan led by Abu Jahl. Tensions were high, swords were nearly drawn, but diplomacy prevailed. A notable figure, Majdi ibn Amr, intervened to prevent unnecessary conflict. This early encounter shows the delicate balance between caution, defense, and moral restraint that defined the Prophet's leadership, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him. Ubaydah ibn al-Harith led 60 men on a reconnaissance patrol. They encountered a Quraysh unit, including Abu Sufyan, Utbah, Shaybah, and others. 2 Quraysh men defected to the Prophet, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him: Miqatil ibn Humayd, Utbah ibn Ghazwan. Their defection signaled that truth was calling hearts even within Quraysh, as reported in Ibn Hisham. These early engagements were not battles, but tests of resolve and moral strength. Beyond Quraysh, Bedouin tribes surrounding Medina posed real danger: Banu Damrah, Banu Mudlij, Ghatafan, Banu Sulaim. These tribes controlled trade routes and water wells, making them pivotal allies or threats. The Prophet, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, approached them with wisdom and diplomacy, avoiding conflict when possible. Medina was learning to navigate a landscape of complex tribal politics. The Prophet, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, met the chief of Banu Damrah, Makshi ibn Amr, and established the first major non-aggression pact. Key terms included mutual protection, safe passage, respect for the Muslim state, cooperation in case of external threats. This treaty strengthened Medina's borders and demonstrated that Islam valued peaceful coexistence alongside preparedness for defense. Not all threats were external. Abdullah ibn Ubayy ibn Salul, the future leader of the hypocrites, grew resentful of the Prophet's influence. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon him. Ibn Ishaq narrates, "No man's heart burned with jealousy more than his." While outwardly polite, he began to sow division and opposition, a danger that would continue in Medina, especially during battles and political negotiations. The Prophet, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, combined military vigilance with diplomacy. Some tribes signed mutual defense agreements, others were offered safe trade passages. Quraysh were made aware that Medina's Muslims were organized, loyal, and capable. Ibn Kathir writes, through alliances, Medina stabilized, and the Ummah gained credibility and strength. These alliances laid the foundation for future victories at Badr and Uhud. The Quraysh began sending larger caravans towards Syria, well armed and heavily guarded, signaling readiness for war. The Prophet, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, monitored these movements carefully, sending spies and scouts. According to Ibn Hisham, this escalating tension was the first step toward the inevitable Battle of Badr. Medina's Muslims were no longer passive, they were strategically preparing for defense. By the end of these early challenges, Medina had trained patrols. Several tribes had signed treaties. Quraysh was preparing for confrontation. Internal opposition began forming. The city, transformed from a vulnerable settlement into a recognized power, guided by the Prophet's wisdom and divine guidance, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him. What began as small patrols and careful diplomacy would evolve into the pivotal missions and battles that shaped the course of Islamic history and lead the believers to the Valley of Badr.